The Peterloo massacre happened 200 years ago in Manchester and was one of the bloodiest political clashes in modern British history. People lost their lives peacefully demanding the right to vote for the working classes. But are the reasons that drove them to gather and to call for change still relevant today?
I've never ever seen as many people on the streets begging. Never. Even when I was a kid.
I feel about to say, but I think it just goes on deaf ears with the politicians.
200 years ago, up to 60,000 people from all of the mill towns surrounding Manchester marched into the centre. One of the largest contingents came from Middleton, a town 6 miles north of Manchester. They gathered at this very spot, it's called Barrow Fields, and the crowd was led by a poet and radical working class reformer called Sam Bamford.
Because what we want, it's not theirs to give.
We've decided to retrace the steps of Samuel Bamford and the Middleton contingent and ask whether the issues that drove so many Mancunians to risk their lives back in 1819 are still relevant today. Samuel Bamford worked as a cloth weaver at a time when many of these jobs were being replaced by mechanised looms. People feared for their livelihoods and standards of living. It's not hard to see modern parallels with the rise of robotics and automation, and wage stagnation leading to a rise in hunger. 200 years ago, a hunger crisis was made worse by the Corn Laws, which put heavy tariffs on imported foreign grain and caused the price of bread to rise.
A lot of things is expensive. You go, everything's, you go shops now, it's like double the price, everything's doubled. 130 odd for a loaf of bread. Things like that, and tea bags are like 150.
Spaghetti, right, you get 2 of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
I was using the same tea bag twice, cornflakes, the good bit, and had the water. That's how things were, tight it was.
Did you used to work before you got sick? Yeah, what did you do?
I used to strip asbestos.
I thought you were going to say you were a stripper.
Yeah, no, but a lot of people say that. I'm a stripper. And you go, oh, was you? Asbestos, yeah, I've done it for about 20 years.
Now then, first stop will be Sam Ogden's Tap House in our parade. And then, on to Manchester. And liberty!
So we have driven from Middleton to Harper Hay, which remains a very kind of working class district of North Manchester. Samuel Bamford and his protesters would have marched through here. So we're going to stop and talk to a few people about Peterloo and see what they think about the main issues that affected the protesters then and whether they still feel relevant today.
Well, what's going on now? We've got more poverty, we've got more children going hungry. Apparently, according to the papers. I don't know what it was like 200 years ago. But
I didn't think you were a witness to the massacre.
But since I was a child, I don't think it's a thing for the better. I don't think life's changing for the better.
What them people must have been going through when Peterloo was on, they really will have been hungry, they really will have been starving. I don't think anybody in England today has to starve. I don't know why the food banks are so busy. I could be completely wrong, but I work on the market, I see the price of food and it sounds really cheap. I mean, I do, but it feels really cheap.
Yeah.
Its benefits is a life choice for people I know. It's a life choice.
I don't think it's still it's not exactly a glamorous life though, is it?
It's not a glamorous, I don't think they're capable of a lot more than they'll ever achieve because they'll never be pushed. Right. That's me, but I always voted Labour automatically, just like my parents did. Always voted Labour, couldn't bear Maggie Thatcher, thought she was cruel. And the older I've got, I changed.
I don't really vote.
Right, why not?
I don't want to vote. I just can't get my head round them. I don't like liars, put it that way.
And do you buy a newspaper?
No,
No.
I pinch it from Asda. Yeah, I get the evening news.
And do you believe what you read?
Not all the time. Papers do not print the truth. Like in America, they praise you, don't they? They lift you up. Here, they push you down. That's the way they are. The media. He's filming you. Look.
Hello.
Oh, you're on telly.
Distrust of the media has become rife in the modern age.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
But actual fake news was rampant after the Peterloo massacre. The authorities tried their best to spin the events to make it seem like a violent riot had been heroically suppressed. They tried to claim that many of the deaths were purely accidental. But protesters fought back with pamphlets and documents of their own. One journalist present at the massacre, by the name of John Edward Taylor, even set up his own newspaper to give reformists a stronger voice. That paper was to become The Guardian. So after they'd had a pint in Harper Hay, the protesters marched through Collyhurst, which is now a district largely comprised of social housing, and then they marched through to the city centre. So there was a point last year when there were more cranes on the horizon in Manchester than in any other European city. It's becoming a city of skyscrapers and great riches, and there's luxury apartments going up all around the city, up for sale often to kind of foreign investors. Living this aspirational, modern, metropolitan life, completely out of the price range of your average Mancunian. It's definitely becoming a city of haves and have-nots. Protesters would have marched down these streets from all directions in their Sunday best, some walking almost 30 miles to congregate in St Peter's Fields, now St Peter's Square. Today, the area remains a focus for protest, with the recent schools climate strike taking place here.
I don't know why, but I feel proud of myself that I'm carrying on the torch with me as well and carrying down the generation of the strike in Manchester. Because we've done Peterloo, we've done the strike for women's rights, we've done a racism strike. They're all strikes in Manchester, and we're making history.
And some people say, well, what difference does it make? What difference do protests make?
Not everyone stops and listens in St Peter's Square, but if you're here and you're present, then you're less ignorable.
Are you going to do it then, lad?
Where are you from?
Hull.
Hull?
Yeah. I'm a trade unionist.
Oh, okay.
I just thought I'd come visit it. We bought the video, so we're going to be watching that.
You're going to be are these your kids?
Honestly, these are my lads.
So you're going to indoctrinate them, are you, with the radical history?
Yeah, I think they're already there anyway. So.
And since you're a union rep, another big theme of Peterloo was mass unemployment after the Napoleonic Wars, and very insecure work as well. The mills just taking on hands when they wanted people, and then maybe there was a trade slump, and then all of a sudden people were out of a job. And then we see some parallels with that today with 0 hours contracts. I mean,
when you see the official figures, you look at they don't look so bad, but when you
the employment figures, you mean?
The employment figure. But when you actually look at he's classed as employed and he does 5 hours a week, and you think, well, that's not right, is it? So it's coming around again, and I can see.
So, although the Manchester of 2019 would be unrecognisable to the 60,000 people who marched on this spot 200 years ago, what they would recognise is that many of the issues which prompted them to risk their lives and take to the streets are still so visible today.